Hello YouTubers, Jason here from Two Old Guys with Crossbows. Well, we're doing something different today. We're still hunting, but we are making garlic sausage out of goose meat and pork fat. Today is grinding day and stuffing day. Then we'll put it in the fridge overnight. Tomorrow is smoking day, and we'll see how this all turns out. Thanks.
This is our little Master Chef grinder that sadly did not live through the whole process. We tried to do some stuffing without the blade in it, and sadly, we blew the bearing out of it. So before you start, you want to get your ingredients and weigh your meats. And here we have 2 pounds of pork fat. We have 5.1 pound or 11 ounces of goose breast. And we have another bag at 5 pounds, 14 ounces of goose breast. Cutting up the pork fat to size to go fit in the grinder. And then we will be ready to start grinding the sausage meat. Well, this is all goose breasts that we're grinding, and a little recommendation is cut your goose breast to size so they're going to fit your grinder. As you can see, Jason's doing a little cutting up on top of the grinder there because we didn't. So just a little thing to remember: cut your meat to size so it all fits, and you can get to your grinding. And then once your meat is sized properly, you can get to grinding. And the grinding process goes quite quickly with one of these little electric grinders. And of course, as you do it, you put in your goose meat and grind up a bunch. Try to mix in your pork fat as you go. You can see here he's got a bunch of goose breast ground, so now he's throwing in a chunk of pork fat. And you'll see it coming out of the grinder there. It's much whiter because it's fat. And all of this will be moved into a larger container to mix the seasoning and mix the meat. We do not have a meat mixer. You can buy meat mixers, but we just do most of it by hand. It's not like we do this all the time, maybe once, twice a year. So here Jason has ground basically about half of the pork fat and half of the goose breast. And we move it into a larger pot to let it sit where we can add seasonings and mix it using a big stew pot, as you can see. And that's what it looks like when it's brown and waiting. Now that the meat is brown, we have to scale our spices. Since the package that we got calls for 20 pounds of meat, but we're only doing about 14 pounds, which means we had to do the math and look at what was in the packages and then weigh them accordingly to the amount we wanted for our mix. The first package we're measuring here is the curing salt, which is for flavor, presentation of the meat, and also for preservation of your sausage. And then we moved on to weighing out the spices that we needed, since we didn't need the whole package. And once we got the desired amount of spice that we wanted, we add cold water, 2 cups according to this recipe, and mix it up, and then let the spices sit for a little bit before we mix them with the meat. And after the spices have soaked in water for about half an hour, you start adding them to your grind. But try to remember to pull your sleeves up before you start this process, because, yeah, it could get a little messy. But as I said before, many people have a mixer that you can buy, but we don't. We just hand mix everything. So you put a bit of the spice in and add more as you go. And just keep mixing it around, pulling the bottom up, pressing it down. You want to make sure that there is no moisture left pooling before you start stuffing your sausages. It doesn't take long. I think it took maybe 5 to 10 minutes to mix this all in. So once the mixing process is done, you cover your pot and let it sit for a couple hours. So we took time to get our wood chips sorted out and soaking. We soak our wood chips overnight in water before they go into the smoker. Get a slower burn that way, the smoke. The mix we use for this recipe is a layer of hickory, just a thin layer of hickory on the bottom, just like that, and then applewood. You can buy your wood chips at Cabela's, wherever. That's where we got ours. Canadian Tire. They also, you can get Mesquite, applewood, hickory, all kinds. But there's more applewood in the mix than hickory. But we fill up the pan and fill it with water. And with my smoker, that gives us about an hour and a half of smoke before the chips are done. And in reality, when you're smoking meat, that's about the most time you need smoke on your meat, because meat will only take smoke for about an hour and a half, and then it's done. We just leave them sit in the sink overnight. Well, now we're ready to start stuffing the sausages. We have everything set up, and one of the first things you want to do is lube your horn, or your sausage horn there on the machine. So the collagen casings, which we're using, are collagen, slide on better. These ones you don't have to soak or anything before. You'll see that we have them cut to lengths, and the reason for that is it's the wrong size casing for our horn. Our horn is actually a 40 mil horn, and these are only 32 mil casings. So we can only get about 10 inches of casing on the horn. And you're probably wondering why we don't just stuff the casing on the end there. Well, the thing is the diameter of the casings before they're pulled out and stretched out does not fit on there. So we had to pull it and cut them to length. And it caused a whole lot of extra work because we had to twist the ends and then we used a string to tie the end, and then as it came off, we had to slow down and stop and tie the other end. So it added more time to our sausage stuffing process, but it works quite well, and we ended up with quite uniform looking sausages, which is something you want too. It's kind of a two-person process. It's easier to have one person controlling the feed of the meat into the sausage tube, and a person to feed the meat into the machine and push it down. As I said, we had to twist the ends and then, of course, take some string and cut it, make a loop, and tie the end of the casing. Otherwise, all the meat would have just been squirting out the end of the casing. So, if you're going to stuff sausages, we only have the one attachment for ours, or the one horn. Like I said, it's a 40 mil, so if you're buying a sausage kit, look at the size of the casings that come with it and make sure you have the right size casings for the horn you have for your machine, or make sure you have the different size horns. This is the large horn at 40 mils. Um, they do come in medium and small. We just don't have a medium or small. It just never came with this cheaper grinder that we bought. And here we go. Start the machine. Now start stuffing the meat down. It looks like we're going to end up with a big air bubble there, but it works quite well. Jason just holds it till the meat fills up and starts pulling the casing off of the horn. One thing I want to point out too is we decided we wanted a little bit of a coarser grind in our sausage. We were thinking. So we did not put the grinding blade in. And as you can see, it is stuffing and it's going through the into the sausage, but it was plugging up inside the machine, and I'm sure that's what probably burnt out our little sausage stuffing grinder, because it does recommend to always have a blade in. Once I noticed that it was getting very hard to push and the meat wasn't going in very well, we did open it up and put the blade in, and yes, it was quite plugged up. But sadly, the damage was already done. And here you see how it's a little bit of a time-consuming effort working together to tie both ends of the sausage the way we've done it, since our sausage tubes didn't fit our machine, or else we would have been able to keep going and just twist them as we went. So here we have loaded the horn again, and we continue the process of stuffing the sausages, doing everything again, putting it on, tying the end up, and feeding the meat in to stuff the sausages. And we continue this process for about 2 hours to make all the sausages that we did. We ended up with approximately 20 before the machine capped on us, and then we ended up making some sausage patty out of the remainder of the meat that was left. Now, once your sausages are stuffed and ready, they need to sit overnight. I just put mine in the oven at room temperature. And no, I don't worry about bacteria because the smoker will kill any bacteria as I smoke them to an inside temperature of at least 150 degrees. You can put them in your refrigerator, but a thing to remember if you refrigerate them is you need to bring them back up to room temperature before you smoke them, or your casings will probably crack in the smoker during the cooking process or curing process. Well, it's time to smoke. After you preheat your smoker, you'll load it up and get the smoke rolling. Keep your heat around 200 to 225. After about an hour and a half to 2 hours, you should reach a nice 145 to 150, and it's time to take them out. Bring them in the house and give them a nice ice water bath for about 2 hours. Cool them right down. Now, after their couple hour cold water bath, you want to set them out on some cookie sheets with tea towels, clean tea towels, and let them dry before packaging. For packaging our game meats, I have the food saver system, which is a vacuum seal system, but it does tend to waste bag a little bit. It's a little difficult to operate at times, but it works very well and keeps your meat for a long time. The food saver system works well and keeps your meat for a long time, but also the bags are expensive and there are more economical systems to purchase. After packaging, we ended up with 8 pounds, 4 ounces of smoked goose meat and 4 pounds, 11 ounces of sausage patties.